Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back on the Mic of Mike. It is the premier business radio program in the area. I'm your host, Mike King. I appreciate you being here with us. So we're coming to you from, you're coming to from the Batcave today, but besides that, it is the premier business radio program around. We're coming to you on ESPN Richmond 106.1, Detroit 105.3, as well as International Business Growth Radio. Join us as this cutting edge show. We uplift the community and showcase RVA in a different way. So today, you know what time it is. It is the time that we talk to our good friends down at Poplar Springs Hospital. Welcome to the program, folks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Alrighty, so Lamar, you know how it works. This is the business show, so let's get the elevator pitch out of the way. Oh, shout out to Caitlin, who has been holding it down while you were on R&R. So shout out to her and all the great things and the guests that we've had in your absence. But you are back, sir, and as usual, you do not roll solo.
Absolutely. So yes. So I'm Lamar Taliaferro, Director of Business Development for Poplar Springs Hospital. Joined with me is
Mary Brandon.
She's our Director of Infection Control. And just for our elevator pitch, you know, for anyone out in the community who has a loved one that's suffering from either mental health disorders and you need either inpatient or outpatient services, feel free to give us a call at 866-546-2229.
All righty. And so we've talked about over the course of time, you guys are here one of the sponsors of the program. I'd like to thank you for that, as well as sponsoring the SOFA Southern Virginia Chamber of Commerce with my man, John Brandt. You guys do a lot in the community. So a lot of times, Lamar, we're talking about a number of good things, things that are serious. But it is, you were marrying because there's something that's really going on that really needs to be addressed, and that's gun violence and how it's affecting the folks down in the Hopewell area. So there's a lot of great things that go on down in Hopewell. And then what happens is when you see something like that, the news is there 10 seconds after the bad stuff happens. The good stuff that goes along, sometimes the news doesn't make it there. So let's talk about what's happening down there with gun violence. As you said, it is National PTSD Month as well.
Yes. So we have seen an uptick in a lot of gun violence, especially down in the Tri-City area. And about 1,667 individuals reported to the emergency room due to a gunshot violence incident, which is significantly high. Majority of them are ranging from the ages of 15 to 24 years old, and that actually makes up 37% of the gun violence that's currently going on in the area. And, back in the 80s and such, when we had a lot of gun violence, it was usually drug related or something of that nature. But now these young kids, they just no longer have the ability to resolve any kind of conflict. They don't have coping skills and things of that nature. And so they result to gun violence. And it's actually more prevalent and so easy for them to get their hands on guns now. So that has caused a great deal of individuals to be sent to the emergency room for gun violence, as well as 36% of those individuals actually had a fatal wound from gun violence.
So Mary, we talked before, and we're talking about coming out of the pandemic, what effect that had on people. Do you see that showing up now in the violence that we're seeing? How people are coping?
Yeah, I think that people were shut in for so long, or they were isolated for so long, that they really didn't have those social skills that they once possessed. Or for some of the younger folks now turning into teenagers, where they spent some of those really formative years in isolation, they do not know how to socially integrate into the community. They don't have a good area of being able to have good social interactions with individuals. They're not able to problem solve or work things out verbally. And, Martin Luther King once said that violence is the language of the unheard. And I think people really need to hear that when people don't feel like they're being heard, they just resort to doing some kind of violence immediately.
So they can get heard.
That's right. Exactly. So that they can be heard, because it's their only way of acting out. It's their only way of getting people to stop and listen to what they want to say. And that's why it's important that we recognize PTSD and how that relates to this. Because the thing of it is that trauma is based on the person's individual experience of an event or a situation. And these kids have been isolated for so long. Individuals have lost their jobs. People are not able, the economy is not helping that situation any. And so they're resorting to the only thing that they have because they don't have any other coping skills.
One of Mike King here with good folks from Poplar Springs Hospital, right now talking about gun violence and the impact of possible PTSD on younger people as a whole. When we think of it now, and you see somebody, and you'll say like, wow, I haven't seen you. In the past, it might have been, oh, you haven't seen a person for 6 months or 3 months. Sometimes we haven't seen people for 2 years. And it's like, wow, it's been that long because we've lost a gap of a year or 2 years where we didn't see people. When you're old like me, hey, that they blend together. But when you're 15 years old and somebody took a chunk out, it makes a difference and an impact on your life. So let's talk about what parents or what people could see with maybe some triggers or something to be concerned about as far as maybe possible PTSD or things so that we don't end up where we are now.
So usually individuals that are experiencing some PTSD have very classic signs and symptoms. Sometimes they may do a lot of pacing, or they may become nervous or agitated when they're put into social settings, especially if they've been isolated a lot. They may have periods, especially in females, will have more crying outbursts, and they may not know why they're crying or why they're feeling that way. The kids, especially between the ages of 13 and 18, are going what we like to call identity versus role confusion. And this is a primitive time.
Oh, that's a big one. All right, now, okay, I didn't pull up the chair on that one.
Yeah, so it's a time in the adolescent's life where they're defining who they are and where they fit into their world, where they fit in with their peer-to-peer interaction, where they fit in their social interactions with either adults or even out in public, going shopping or doing whatever that is. They're defining who it is that they want to be when they grow up. They're looking at what their sexual identity is going to be. That's a hard enough time as it is without a pandemic. And now we throw a pandemic in here, and they're supposed to learn all those things and develop that task that they can't develop because they've been isolated.
Wow.
Does that make sense?
It doesn't, when you think about it that way. 13 to 18 was a tough time anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And now all of a sudden you have that period of time now where we put in something, a pandemic that none of us had seen before, and we sent everyone home.
Right.
And we'll tell you when to come back. And now what's coming back isn't the same as what went home.
Right. So then primary adulting skills at the very end of that stage is where we're seeing majority of the gun violence. We're seeing a lot of the violence through that stage. So you're looking at people that are 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. And you got to remember, Darren, their 17 and 18-year-olds were isolated. They're coming out at 20 and 21, and they don't know how to function in society as an adult. Because when they went in, they were still in a kid stage, and now they're coming out in an adult stage. And they haven't learned the coping skills that they need or the social interaction skills to be able to handle situations without resorting to aggressive behavior.
What could parents do to sort of alleviate some of that? I know you're a professional. What could parents do to sort of help the situation?
I think that it's really important. I know that parents have really struggled. I was a parent of a teenager that has spent her last year of high school in isolation. And I think that it was really imperative that I connected with my child. I stayed engaged with her. And even though she would be on Zoom with her meetings and things of that nature, I was still able to create an environment where she was able to talk with me. And I had to stay engaged in that. Even if I had to go off to work and do whatever it is, when I got back in the home, I really needed to engage with my kid and find out where she's at. Sometimes we can pick up on some of them cues just by talking with our kids. The second thing of it is start taking them out. go out with your child in the community. And I know teenagers don't like hanging out with their parents, but I think at this time, parents could be more engaged in taking them out into social settings to get them more acclimated about appropriate behavior in the community.
There you go. Mike is here, Mary's there. We also have Lamar from Poplar Springs Hospital. So when we look at parenting these days as opposed to before, and I guess supervisors at work have the same area of interest, how do you set up the culture and worry and concern, make sure your people are not burned out, having PTSD and all those things? We talk about setting culture. How do you do that?
Well, here at Poplar Springs Hospital, we have launched the Trauma Informed Academy. And that's a program that our employees are engaged in. So they join on weekly Zoom calls as well as doing the activities during the week. They're able to address their own and identify their own feelings and their own traumas that they may be struggling with within themselves. And in turn, they learn new skills about how to deal with those traumas for themselves. And it better is able to help them deal with our patients, also deal with trauma. And sometimes it's even better if we as healthcare providers, if we have experienced trauma, going through that process of dealing with it, it actually even enhances our ability to deal with our patients with trauma-related issues. Just being able to identify people's emotions and giving it a name. And it's what we call elastic emotions. It's where you can give more words to individuals to describe how it is that they're feeling. Because some people that are angry are not really angry. They're probably sad or they're distressed or they're frustrated, but they need those words to be able to identify that much better.
And that's called elastic
emotions.
See, Lamar, I learned, I don't even know why I got you here, but that one really is, when you look at that right there, that's something that we get all the time. We don't know how to put things in the words and try and figure, especially, I don't know, sometimes guys are a little harder sometimes because maybe we won't be as expressive or using words, but that's great information right there because we have to do something. When we look at the gun violence that's out there, like you said, it's easier and easier to get. And what really makes it harder too is there was a reason before it was gun violence because of drugs. Now it's just, I'm upset.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay. All righty, Lamar. Thank you guys for that.
That mouthful, I'm sorry. No, I get passionate about it.
Mary is a wealth of knowledge. So
Mary, that is true. And it's something that we have to take we have to take notice of because if people are not talking about it, because a lot of times people don't want to talk about tough topics. They're just like, well, okay, it'll be okay. And then because we go over to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, I think now this is me on the soapbox, but when when Buffalo happened, before you know it, California happened and then Texas happened. We went so fast, California kind of got lost in the mix because it wasn't as horrific as the other ones because we go from tragedy to tragedy. And that's the part where you talk about PTSD. So Lamar, what else you guys have going on down there? I know you guys always have some new and exciting things. You guys are part of the community as well, doing some really cool things.
Absolutely. I'm back up to a question that you asked earlier about what we'll be doing for our staff to keep the burnout and fatigue. We are doing a lot of physical fitness events from 5Ks. I think you're doing
so we have the health and wellness program here that me and a committee developed. We did the walking challenge for the spring. We're doing the water drinking challenge for the summer. And we do a different event each season to try to promote good health. And when we promote good bodily health, we also promote good mental health for our staff.
People don't realize the importance that does have on the bottom line because you guys are on the front line. We've gone from COVID to you guys having all the restrictions and everyone having the restrictions to now everyone's worried about what's happening with the economy, gun violence, and we just go from issue to issue and you guys are on the front lines and you have to worry about your workers. not not working them till the wheels fall off, and then people were, So that's something you guys are always really on the forefront of taking care. You got the chill out room down there as well, but I'm sure that's not the official name, but that's kind of like what I call it when I come to the Grove.
The massage chair, yeah.
Okay.
But go ahead.
No, that's it. Go ahead. It's your time to tell us what's happening down there.
And then also, we're trying to bring some new services to Poplar Springs Hospital. As you know, is PTSD Awareness Month. We currently have a PTSD program in our military hospital, which is also what can transition to an outpatient program, which is called PHP. So we have two PHP programs, one in our military hospital and one at the Grove, which is our outpatient clinic. Because we're seeing such an uptick in like the teenager or adolescent phone calls, we're bringing on a new service, a PHP program just strictly for adolescents. We're hoping to have that up probably by Q4 of this year. But that's something that we're seeing a growing need for. We're looking to bring to Poplar Springs Hospital. And
so the way that works is if you're bringing it for adolescents, is that what you said, right?
Yes, sir.
So what do I do? So I see something in my child that's not exactly correct, maybe conflict resolution or whatever. I bring them there for a period, or a couple of nights a week or a couple of hours, or how does something like that work?
So remember the step down process. So we actually, so we have a lot of, we already are servicing a lot of adolescents on our acute unit.
Okay.
But in the past, we have been discharging them out either to the community because we don't have an outpatient adolescent program.
Okay.
But those services are thin. There's not a lot of options for adolescents right now. So we're looking to kind of fill that need for the community and bring it here to Poplar Springs.
So now, go ahead.
When they step down from acute, now they can just transition over to the Grove here on site and just continue the care until they can discharge fully.
And then they come in at a certain time, a couple hours here and there, weekly or whatever that is.
Yes, absolutely. They can do either in-person, hybrid, or virtual.
Alrighty, so, okay, that's right. So, and we did talk about that has made life easier because people do not have to get to you, which can be a problem. Like I said, I was down in Brunswick and transportation or getting somewhere can be problematic. So now by having a virtual aspect of it, it has made life easier.
Yeah. You know what? Now that you mentioned Brunswick again, I think Sarah, our outpatient director, is from Brunswick. Mm-hmm. And she's very, very familiar with that area now. I was looking to kind of bring services there.
That hotbed of business activities down there.
Yes.
So we're down there already. So Lamar, let's talk about the person's having an issue, how they contact you guys. And like you said, 24/7, there's somebody there to answer the phone. Don't be in need and not contact you guys.
Absolutely. So one, you can contact us at our toll-free number, 866-546-2229. And if you're having concerns about a family member, we can do an over-the-phone assessment to see if that individual will, meet the admission criteria. Or you can go to our website, www.poplasprings.com. We do 24-hour admissions, 7 days a week, and we're here to help.
All righty, Mary, as a getaway question, I asked folks a lot of time, what gives you hope? Because, some of the stuff that you see and hear on a daily basis, sometimes it can be a little bit tough, but what gives you hope?
I think the thing that gives me hope is that just working in the field that I work in, just changing one life at a time really does give me hope because, we may not be able to change the entire world, but the impact that we can have on our community and those around us can give me a lot of hope towards a better future, especially with these young kids being able to have the support systems that they need.
When you see a person coming, we'll just start with a young kid. Maybe they come in, they don't want to be there. little bit combative. This isn't working, all that. And then all of a sudden they turn a corner and the light comes on. Let's talk about that moment.
I think that that's a really good moment. I long time actually worked clinically on the floor, and I've watched patients that had come into the hospital setting and they were completely psychotic. They really did not have a clue what was going on. And to watch them become medicated and to watch them reappear is so rewarding in this field. Dr. Fred Fries, who was the founder of NAMI, which is the National Alliance on Mental Illness, he believed that all people with mental illness can reach a stage of recovery. And in my profession, doing mental health for 20 years, I've seen that multiple times. And so it's a really good feeling to see those changes occur. Don't always happen overnight, but they do occur over time.
Those are the ones that help you make it through the other tough times, I would guess.
Yes, they do.
There you go. On the mic with Mike. Mary's here. Lamar down in Poplar Springs. One last time, Lamar, how can people find you?
Yep, you can go to our website, www.poplarsprings.com, or you can call us toll free at 866-546-2229.
All right, on the mic with Mike also. Poplar Springs doing some really big things. Lamar then roped me into coming down to let's talk about what you guys are doing with the community down there, man.
Absolutely. So we are members of the Petersburg Breakfast Rotary. And I I am I'm the upcoming president for the club, and we're looking to give back as much as we possibly can, not only Poplar Springs, but so is the Rotary Club. So we have a lot of things coming up, from from feeding the homeless to a golf tournament. So there are a lot of things that we can utilize to reach out and give back.
There you go. It's always the best working with these guys. On the mic with Mike, make sure you check out the program, the sponsors. You can follow me on social platforms, which is www. On the mic with Mike RVA, as well as Mike King Biz. So I'd like to thank you guys for tuning in. I always say, take care of the sponsors. Changing the world ain't cheap, easy, or free. Plus, my grandkids need stuff. So that's the disclaimer forced by my wife to say that one. All right, we got to run. On the mic with Mike, we'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks now. Take care.
All right. Thank you.